Have you ever wondered how it's possible to transform billions of oranges into one of the most consumed juices in the world? Every year in the United States alone, more than 2.5 billion liters of orange juice are produced, and much of this volume comes from Florida's orange groves. Behind every glass lies an astonishing industrial process, from the harvest in the field to the bottling plant that ensures freshness and quality. The journey begins in Florida's extensive orange groves. The fruits aren't picked immediately. They have to wait until they reach their exact point of sweetness and ripeness. In some more traditional orchards, manual methods are still used. Workers who, one by one, pick the oranges and carefully place them in harvesting bags. This system is slower, but guarantees that the fruit arrives whole and undamaged. However, for a production that requires millions of pieces every day, this technique is insufficient. That's why mechanical harvesters come into play. These giant machines are designed to precisely shake the tree branches. Equipped with vibrating arms, they force the ripe oranges directly onto a conveyor belt system. What in the past could take days of manual labor now happens in a matter of hours. Once peeled, the fruit is transferred to specialized vehicles called goats, capable of harvesting up to 2 tons of oranges per minute, equivalent to more than 2 million units in a single day. When someone thinks of a ripe orange, they usually imagine it with a completely intense orange skin. However, a walk through the orange groves reveals something curious. Many fruits maintain green or yellowish tones even when they are ready to eat. This surprises those who believe that color is the best indicator of ripeness, when in reality it is not. The change in color in the peel depends primarily on ambient temperature. During cool nights, carotenoid pigments intensify and the skin becomes more orange, while warm nights can have the opposite effect. The fruit, even when ripe, takes on a greenish hue. This phenomenon is known as greening and does not alter the flavor or quality of the pulp at all. For the industry, what really matters is not appearance, but technical parameters such as the ripeness index, which combines the level of natural sugars, Brix degrees, and the acidity of the fruit. When the ratio between the two reaches an optimal point, the orange is ready for harvest, regardless of its external color. Added to this is the difference between physiological ripeness and commercial ripeness. The former refers to internal development, concentrated juice, balanced sugars, and adequate acidity. The latter is related to what the consumer expects to see in a supermarket: oranges with a uniform and attractive color. For this reason, some green fruits undergo a degreening process using ethylene, a natural gas that eliminates chlorophyll from the skin without altering the pulp. When the trucks finish loading, they take the oranges to an open semi-trailer known as a gondola. There, thousands of fruits accumulate until a load of approximately 120,000 oranges is completed. To put that figure into perspective, suffice it to say that a single trailer of this type is enough to produce more than 10,000 liters of fresh juice. The next destination is the factory, where the real industrial journey begins. Upon arrival, the oranges are lowered onto a rinsing platform. A series of water jets intensely spray them, removing any dirt, dust, or leaf debris. Then, rollers with rotating brushes remove any stubborn dirt. The goal is clear: to ensure that no impurities interfere with the final juice. Once this stage is complete, they enter an inspection line. There, workers and inspectors thoroughly inspect the fruit as it moves along the conveyor belts. Those that are bruised, defective, or show signs of rot are set aside. Only those that meet the quality standard move forward. Before reaching the juicer, each orange rests on a bed covered with thousands of tiny metal needles that gently pierce the peel. This piercing releases the essential oils contained in the skin, a highly valuable byproduct that will be used later. Once the oranges have passed the cleaning and initial inspection stages, a key process begins that, although it may seem simple, is fundamental to the plant's performance: size grading. In an orange grove, identical fruit is never obtained. The genetics of each tree, irrigation, sun exposure, and even the position of the fruit on the branch determine its final development. Thus, in the same batch, there are large and heavy oranges, well-proportioned medium-sized ones, or small ones that, although juicy, require different treatment in the juicer. To resolve this, the factory uses a system of calibrated rollers that function as a kind of progressive filter. As the oranges advance along the belt, they fall into different compartments according to their diameter. This method doesn't aim to select the best or worst oranges, but rather to ensure that each fruit reaches the juicer best suited to its size. Why is this so important? If an orange that's too small enters a machine designed for large fruits, the pressure will not be uniform, and some juice will be lost. Conversely, if an orange that's too large enters a small juicer, it could jam or break inefficiently, generating waste. By separating each batch according to its size, each fruit is squeezed with just the right amount of force, maximizing yield. This system also helps to better organize production, as it allows for more precise calculations of the amount of juice to be obtained from each batch. Larger oranges generally provide a greater volume, while smaller ones, although they yield less per unit, make up for it with faster processing by grouping them into faster juicers. Finally, the crucial moment arrives: extracting the juice. The selected oranges are placed in industrial juicers. Each fruit is held in a metal cup and cut in half. Each half is then pressed against a rotating cone, which squeezes out the pulp and juice in a single motion. The system is very similar to a home juicer, but multiplied to a monumental scale. These machines can process 800 oranges per minute, allowing the plant to generate up to 1.9 million liters of juice per day. However, this is not the only method. Other facilities employ metal tine presses. In this case, the fruit is threaded onto rows of tines, and a hydraulic press pushes them down to release the liquid. Meanwhile, the extracted pulp is stored in special drums to be reincorporated later, depending on the type of juice to be produced. And what happens to all those empty peels? Nothing goes to waste. The peels are ground in mills into a fibrous mixture. This mass is transported by trucks and used as livestock feed. At the same time, the essential oil found in the fruit's skin is utilized. The oil is collected along with other extracts and passed through a high-speed centrifuge. There, the water is separated from the oil through rapid spins. The process is repeated several times until a 99% pure product is obtained. Orange essential oil, a highly sought-after ingredient in the food, cosmetics, and even cleaning product industries. Once the oranges have been squeezed, the resulting liquid is in its purest state, fresh, aromatic, and full of nutrients. From here, the industry decides which route the juice will take, as not all oranges are processed the same way. There are two main routes that allow for adaptation to both distribution logistics and consumer preferences. The first route is concentrated juice. In this process, the juice is subjected to large industrial evaporators that remove about 80% of its water content. The goal is to reduce its volume to make it easier to transport and store. The resulting product is a kind of thick, dense syrup, which is then frozen at very low temperatures. This format is the one usually found in supermarkets in the form of frozen tubes. Its main advantage is its practicality. It takes up less space and can be stored for long periods without losing its essential properties. When ready to consume, it is simply reconstituted by adding water in the indicated proportion. The second route is single-strength juice, also known as non-concentrated juice. In this case, the juice remains almost identical to how it came from the fruit, but it undergoes a rapid pasteurization process to ensure its safety. It is first briefly heated to about 85 degrees Celsius, which destroys bacteria and microorganisms that could affect its preservation. It is then immediately cooled to temperatures close to 0 degrees Celsius, which helps preserve its freshness, aroma, and natural flavor. This juice receives no additives or preservatives, so it can be labeled as 100% orange juice. Although its shelf life is shorter than that of concentrate, it is the preferred option for those seeking a more authentic flavor, practically identical to that of squeezing an orange at home. The pasteurized juice is deposited in giant refrigerated tanks with a capacity of up to 3.85 million liters. In this controlled environment, it can remain fresh for up to 2 years without significant loss of flavor. At this point, the previously extracted pulp is also added back in. Depending on consumer preference, batches with different pulp levels are created, from juice with no pulp at all to varieties with abundant pulp. The blending is done in reprocessing tanks to ensure a homogeneous texture. With the juice now pasteurized and ready to reach the consumer, one of the most delicate stages begins: bottling. Here, not only is the product protected, but it is also given the final presentation with which it will be distributed and displayed in supermarkets. The process begins with so-called plastic preforms, small, thick, tube-shaped pieces reminiscent of a miniature bottle. These preforms are placed in infrared ovens that heat them until they are sufficiently softened. Once the appropriate temperature is reached, they are passed to blow molding machines, where high-pressure air jets inflate the preform inside a metal mold, giving it the exact shape of a bottle in seconds. Thanks to this method, thousands of containers can be produced in a very short time, all with the same strength, thickness, and capacity. Before filling, each newly formed bottle goes through a rinsing and final cleaning station. A sprinkler system removes any dust particles or residue that may have remained from the molding process, ensuring a completely clean and safe container to receive the juice. Filling is carried out in a controlled manner in 2 stages. First, a small amount of juice is introduced to minimize foam formation and ensure a better seal. The filling is then topped up to the exact required level. This detail is critical, as even a few milliliters more or less could alter the net weight declared on the label. Therefore, each filling line incorporates an integrated precision scale that verifies the weight of each bottle in real time, correcting any deviations instantly. Once the exact volume is reached, the container moves to the next station, where a machine applies the cap in a matter of milliseconds. The closure is not only mechanical but also hermetic, ensuring that the juice is protected from the entry of air or external contaminants. In just a few seconds, a bottle that started as a small plastic preform is ready for distribution. Before going to market, each bottle undergoes exhaustive quality control. High-speed cameras and ultraviolet light check for leaks, loose caps, or defects in the plastic. The bottles are then tilted slightly so that the hot juice itself sterilizes the neck and cap. They then cool gradually to room temperature. The final touch is the label. It prints the brand, nutritional information, and all the information that guarantees the consumer the quality of the product. From Florida's orange groves to the supermarket shelf, every liter of orange juice goes through a carefully designed industrial process to preserve the flavor and freshness of the original fruit. Nothing is wasted. The peel becomes animal feed, the essential oils find multiple uses, and the pulp is returned to the juice according to each consumer's preference. The result is a product that accompanies millions of people during their daily breakfast,